Alrighty, so it's time to look at these two games that wraps up match week number 2. And originally, I was going to do this review a little bit later than I am doing right now because I was waiting for the condensed highlights of this game between LAFC versus the Portland Timbers to be released on the league website since I didn't watch the first half of this game. But I decided that I'm just going to watch the 4-minute highlight of this game. And one thing you need to know about the 4-minute highlight that MLS basically released right after when a game is over, it is very bare bone. I mean, it doesn't really give me much to work with, and you can definitely see it here on the board where there was really only two notable things that I can put on the board for this game, and I know for sure that those two notable things isn't really the only thing that happened in the first half of this one. But also the reason why I like to watch the 4-minute highlight and do this review a little bit sooner is because I want to get this done, not only to not once again upload a video that is very late into the night, even though technically at the time of this recording it's like 1:05 in the morning in the East Coast, but also the fact that I do have to go to work early tomorrow, and after this video is over I'm going to turn in for the night, get a good night's sleep before starting another long work week that I'm going to be about to go through. But either way, let us actually get into the first game of the doubleheader action on Sunday, which is Austin FC versus Inter Miami, and I'm wearing the Verde again because Austin once again put 5 past their opponent. And by the way, the Verde that Austin wear in this game, boy oh boy, I really want to get that jersey. Like, I already think that when they released that jersey, it was definitely awesome, but to see the players wearing it and also wearing that jersey on the field, it looked like one of the best jerseys in the league, and it's definitely one that I think I am definitely going to get soon. I mean, I have a long wish list in terms of MLS jersey that I'm planning to get this season, but that jersey that Austin, of course, just released for this season, it might have just jumped a couple of places in terms of the wish list because of how nice it is when when wearing it on the pitch. But in terms of this game itself, I mean, like I said, this was an absolute demolition that Austin have put against their opponent for the second week in a row. Though it kind of does help the fact that Inter Miami in this game decided to kind of replicate what FC Cincinnati did in the game against Austin last week, which is they decided not to show up. I mean, that back line, I feel like they got too comfortable in terms of that South Florida, the weather and that South Florida kind of beach vibe, and yeah, they decided to not even bother showing up in this game, or even bother even to basically get on the plane to travel to this game, because all I see in this game was just them letting Austin have all the fun in terms of the attack. And it all started then in the 5th minute. Oh, by the way, the tifo that Austin basically displayed before the game, it looked absolutely awesome. And we know that one thing Austin definitely do well is definitely their tifo game. I mean, they did an awesome tifo on opening night of last season, their first ever home game in franchise history, and they did it again in this one. An absolutely amazing tifo display that they of course put. But in the 5th minute, Diop denied Jerussi from long range as Austin was on the front foot early, and Miami, they're just getting stuck in their own half. Like, they just could not get out of their own half, cannot string any passes together. And in the 21st minute, Austin well deserved takes the opening or score the opening goal of this game as Jerussi would score for Fagundes and Urruti to make it 1-0 in favor of Austin. Now, there was a hint, the fact that the ball kind of went out of play when Fagundes was delivered this one into the box, and it was close. I mean, I was kind of surprised that they didn't go to VAR because of how close it is, but nevertheless, when they did show the replay, it looked like Fagundes just able to cross that one in before the ball actually went out of play. So yeah, the goal of course then, it gives Austin a 1-0 lead. Ruti tried to make it 2-0 in favor of Austin and try to toe poke it in, but could not do so. It was all Austin early on, and eventually they would get that second goal in the 27th minute. It's Cascante that scores from Kolmanic and Pereira to make it 2-0 in favor of Austin. It's not very often that you see the defender combined in terms of the goal scoring and assist chart, but that's what we got in this play. Though there was zero defending from the set piece for Miami in this one. I mean, this was just as bad as it gets in terms of set piece defending, and the fact that Cascante was just wide open with a free header. You know, you got to question in terms of that defense, but you also got to question Breck Shea, who's the guy that marked Cascante. Where how in the world did he just let Cascante fly right past him and get a free header like that? But nevertheless, Austin of course leads 2-0 up to that point. Dominguez trying to make it 3-0, but could not toe poke that one in, and I thought this could get ugly for Miami. And even though we know that it did get ugly for this team, at that point I thought it was going to get ugly because Austin was just absolutely dominating this game, and every time they go through the attack, Inter Miami just have no answer whatsoever. Though Miami did have their first real opportunity in the 41st minute as Mota trying to hit one from the free kick, but it goes straight to Stuvern. Then Lassiter basically tried to do the same thing, pretty much the same resort, hits one straight to Stuvern, and we head to halftime with Los Verde with a 2-0 lead over Inter Miami. Now, in the second half, Taylor did hit one straight to Stuvern, and I thought Miami kind of got off to a good start in the second half, but that good start that they had in the second half was hugely dampened in the 51st minute as Jerussi would score his second goal to make it 3-0 in favor of Austin. And I said last season that when Jerussi was signed with this team and how well he performed, he's going to have another good year heading into his first full season, and he's definitely proven it in this first two games. I mean, he has been on fire in these last two games, and if he can continue this kind of form, then Austin not only have found their answer in terms of a number 10, but also find a guy that could be a lethal goal scorer for this team. But unfortunately, that free goal advantage didn't last long, as in the 53rd minute, Miami would get one back, and it's Campana scoring the first goal in his MLS career from Higuain to make it 3-1 in favor of Austin. And yeah, this was not a good moment for that Austin backline. And that Austin backline throughout this game, again, there was some moments where they did give Miami too much space to work with, but this was really just them turning the ball over, giving it away to Higuain. And yeah, Higuain is the last player that you want to give the ball away, and unsurprisingly, they were punished because of the WTF turnover that they commit in their own half. Then Stuver in the 56th minute denied Taylor, as there was then a shout for a penalty for Austin that was not given. But there was no doubt that momentum was with Miami, and this is where Austin's got to be careful because, yes, it's a comfortable 3-1 lead, but if Miami can get that second goal, oh boy, it gets a lot nervous for that sold-out crowd at Q2 Stadium for the remaining of the second half. Taylor then fired one on the volley into the stands. I thought Robert Taylor had a good game for his debut. But in the 64th minute, Austin would restore their free goal advantage. And it's Ethan Finley scoring from Ring and Jerussi to make it 4-1 in favor of Austin. Always great to see a former Loons player, and especially Ethan Finley, who, I was definitely sad to see him move on, because he is definitely one of the more lovable Loons in that team from the fan base. But this goal, I know there was definitely question that maybe Finley was in an offside position, because it looked like maybe Urruti actually touched that one when it was flipped in. But nevertheless, it was still optional defending for Miami. Like, before this potential offside call that maybe should have been given, that disallow a goal, that was just terrible marking for Inter Miami. And I mean, I know I've said it so many times in this game, and that's because it was the case where every single goal that they gave up in this game was just some really atrocious defending that I saw from this team. Now, in the 84th minute, Finley tried to score his second goal and score Austin the fifth, but he hits that one high. Higuain then tried to curl one in, but it goes way wide, which sums up Miami's day. But in the 90th minute, Finley would get his second and Austin fifth, as he scored here for Fagundes to make it 5-1 in favor of Austin. What a goal this was from Ethan Finley, basically striking this one from long distance. And as much as, it's great to see him score that goal, it was also kind of bittersweet too, because where was this when he was with Minnesota United all this year? But nevertheless, as I said, Austin win 5-1 in this one, and the shots in this one, only 8 shots compared to 13 that Miami has in this game. Like, I swear, that cannot be right with the way that I feel like Austin had more than 8 shots in this one. Though, it kind of maybe is an indictment to this Miami defense that, when a defense play absolutely horrendous, when you give up 5 goals in only 8 shots, and also six shots on goal, and you gave up 5 goals in terms of that. Speaking of shots on goal, both teams had 6 shots on goal. 2 shots off target for the 5 that Miami has. 2 shots that was blocked for the none that Austin has. And possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that Miami has in this game. And, I know that there are also going to be some people say, well, yes, it's great to see Austin basically score 10 goals in the last 2 games and are now at the top of the Western Conference. But let's be honest, they've been playing some very easy team with the likes of Miami and FC Cincinnati. And, to some extent, that is kind of true. But as the old saying goes, you can only play against who is in front of you. And right now, Austin, they get the benefit of playing against 2 teams that look like it's going to be basement dweller in the Eastern Conference. And I think that next game against the Portland Timbers, that could be a good measuring stick of how they're going to be. Because right now, this is a team that I feel like they're way ahead of their schedule in terms of making the playoffs. And if they can maybe put a statement win against the Timbers and going on the road at Providence Park, or maybe even a draw against the Timbers, I think some people might look at this Austin team and maybe this team could actually sneak into the playoffs. Even I know in the Western Conference it is going to be very competitive, and that it's not going to be easy to try and to get over that red line for the end of the season. But at least Austin is getting off to a great start to their second year in their campaign, and really are playing some of the best soccer they've ever seen from this team in their short term in MLS. But now, moving on, in terms of the next game, which is the one that I wasn't able to watch the first half between LAFC versus the Portland Timbers. And as it is the case for these last couple of meetings between both of these teams, it was tight, and it did end in a 1-1 draw. And early on in the 18th minute, Jimmy Chara would score to make it 1-0 in favor of the Portland Timbers. And yeah, it was another bicycle kick goal that he scored in this play. And you know how I said yesterday in that game between the Galaxy and Charlotte of how when Efrain Alvarez scored that goal, I basically said that is definitely the goal of the week, unless whatever happened in the next 2 games that can topple that, that's going to be the goal of the week. Well, it turns out maybe this is the goal that will definitely top that, and that, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see who is going to win out. And I know the goal of the week is pretty much a popularity contest, but it's going to be interesting to see whether or not if Chara's bicycle kick, which I think this one was even more impressive than the one that he scored against New England, because this one came off of a deflection, and the audacity of him trying it even when it come off of a deflection off of the LAFC defender, like that is just absolutely unreal. But nevertheless, that gave the Timbers a 1-0 lead. Ivicic then robbed Vela, who tried to curl that one in. I mean, Vela, I'm pretty sure he thought that he score another goal, but Ivicic with a big save here. And Ivicic, he started to gain some trust from this Timbers faithful. The fact that there was a lot of question of whether or not if he can of course fill in the shoes that Steve Clark basically left, and it seems like at least for these first 2 games he's definitely doing a good job in this one, as he had another good game in this one. But we do head to halftime with the Timbers leading 1-0. Now in the second half, the big story coming out of this game, and certainly for these next couple of days, is what's going on with Carlos Vela, because he was subbed off at halftime, and the only thing I can think that is the reason why he subbed off at halftime is that he suffered another injury. And I'm really hoping that of course is not the case, and if you're an LAFC fan, that is the last thing you want to hear, because this has been the issue that Vela has been having these past couple of seasons, where he has just not been able to stay healthy, and that this is also a contract year for him, and the last thing he wants to do, and at least for LAFC fan, to see Vela getting injured, and that maybe those words that Vela said that this is going to be his last year with LAFC could potentially come true. So Opoku of course comes in for Vela in this game, but at least early on in the second half, lots of possession for LAFC, and Portland, they were going with their typical little low block bunker, because they're leading this game. They're happy to just sit back and look for any counter opportunity. But in the 51st minute, Ivicic was able to deny Rodriguez in the near post, and despite having most of the possession, I thought LAFC was having a tough time trying to figure out this Timbers bunker and trying to break things down, though it kind of maybe got a little bit easier for them to figure it out, because in the 61st minute, Bravo of course would get his second yellow card, and I know Timbers fans are not going to be happy be with this call because they feel like, with the way that Bravo didn't really quite foul or put Orengo down, and more like I feel like Orengo kind of made a little bit of meal of that. That probably it seems like a very soft second yellow, but in my opinion, I don't think that is the right reason, and I think it is kind of the right call with the way that anytime when you decide to pull someone back, even in the slightest contact, like what we saw with Bravo did to Orengo, it's a yellow card, and when you're already on a yellow card, you just cannot make that challenge. And yeah, the Timbers were down to 10 men in this game, though. I also would say that Timbers fans shouldn't be that upset because one thing about LAFC, when they're up a man, they do not do very well. Like, it's been shown that in the past, whenever LAFC go up a man, they kind of just feel lost. And I will say that in this game, they definitely done a much better job being a man up, and that this doesn't seem like the old LAFC that I saw, and even the LAFC when they were a very good team where they just look completely lost when they're up a man. And again, I don't know why that, of course, is the case, and the logic doesn't make any sense of that. But in the 70th minute, Orengo tried to curl one in from 24 yards out, but he missed wide there. Ilya then puts it high from 20 yards out as LAFC was really starting to press for the equalizer, and also this is when they really throw the kitchen sink of this Timbers back line. Ivicic was able to deny Rodriguez, who's trying to bend one in before Rodriguez hits one straight to Ivicic, and I even wrote the Timbers, they looked like they were just holding on for dear life. Ringo struck the post on the header in the 83rd minute, but I thought as the time winds down, frustration started to come from this LAFC team, and I don't blame them, because when you put so much pressure on this Timbers back line, which I think as the time goes, this Timbers defense really started to look very locked down. I mean, there was definitely a lot of frustration from this LAFC team that it feels like, is this just going to be one of those days like what we saw many times last season, where no matter how many shots they generate, they just could not put one into the back of the net. Rangel tried to do it again in the 90th minute, but he puts it into the 3-2-5-2 from 12 yards out. But then in the second minute of stoppage time, they finally got their deserved equalizer. And it's Mamadou Fall that scored from Rodriguez and Blessing to tie the game up at one apiece. And I think that was really one of the rare times when that Timbers back line kind of fell asleep like that. The fact that Mamadou Fall was that wide open in the back post, you got to question the markings there. But that's the thing about trying to hold on and trying to park the bus to get a victory, is that if you make one little mistake, you're going to basically be punished. And for the Timbers, they definitely were punished in that. And yeah, the game, of course, was tied up at one apiece. And if you think that, of course, was it, oh, yeah, you are wrong. You're wrong about it. Because in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Crepeau was able to deny Jimmy Char, who were looking to try to finish off a classic counterattack from the Portland Timbers. And I even wrote, MLS After Dark was in full effect. I mean, if you don't like MLS After Dark, then you clearly do not like MLS. And I thought we were going to get another moment where somehow one of these teams is going to get the winning goal because of how wide open that stoppage time was. But nevertheless, it did end in a 1-1 draw in this one. And the shots in this one, definitely more than the previous game. 25 shots compared to 10 that the Timbers had. 6 shots on goal for the 4 that the Timbers had. 9 shots off target for the 3 that the Timbers had. 10 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Timbers had. And possession-wise, LAFC dominated the possession. 68% possession compared to 32% possession that the Portland Timbers has in this game. And overall, I don't know if either of these teams will be happy with this draw. I mean, for LAFC, I know they, of course, rescued themselves a draw late in this game, but they definitely feel like they should have got all 3 points with the way that, again, this felt like something similar to last season, where no matter how much they dominate and no matter how many chances that they get, they just look very, very toothless whenever they go forward and aren't able to finish the chance that kind of come by. And for the Portland Timbers, it's kind of disappointed for them because they looked like they were going to held on to get a massive 3 points in this game against LAFC, and they weren't able to do so. And also, I'm not going to talk about and make a reference to what happened in 2020, where you know what happened with the 2020 Portland Timbers team, where they loves to concede goals in the last 15 minutes, because I do believe that this team has changed, especially from last season, where they did a much better job closing out games. But yeah, this one feel like it just kind of got away from them, and that it's kind of a bit heartbreaking the fact that they did a relatively good job holding on throughout this game, and then they concede one right on into stoppage time. But either way, that is pretty much it for the review of both of these national televised games. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of both of these games. And again, in a couple of days, we are going to do the preview of another 14 game action that's going to be happening in MLS. I mean, one thing that I am happy about this season is the fact that we're not going to at least get a lot of midweek games, or at least in the beginning of the season. I don't think we're going to get like a midweek games until April, because last season I think we started getting midweek games very early in the year, like after I think match week 3, and it started to kind of get a handful when I have to do a preview and review of the weekend game and also the midweek games in a couple of days. I mean, I definitely enjoy watching MLS action, but when there's like so much MLS action and me kind of scrambling in terms of doing preview and review, it could be a little bit hectic at time. But like I said, either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.